Hey friends, here's the book we're using, Growing in God's Love, a Story Bible. I would encourage you to get it if you don't already have it. So this week our story is called The Hardest Thing. It's based on Genesis chapter 22, verses 1 through 19. Some stories, even some stories in the Bible, make it really easy to tell who the good people are. The good people are really good. In this story, Abraham is the really good person. He's so good that he trusts God even when God asks him to do the hardest thing. This story can be hard to read because God asks Abraham to do such a hard, scary thing. And it doesn't tell us what Abraham is thinking. Remember, this story is about telling everyone how much Abraham trusts God. That's the good news in this very hard story. Abraham didn't know what God wanted. Abraham didn't know that God wanted to test him when God called Abraham. "Here I am," Abraham said. "Take your son Isaac, whom you love so much, up a mountain. I will show you which one. There you will do a very hard thing, the hardest thing. You will offer your son as a burnt offering." People offered gifts to God by burning them in those days. Usually it was an animal, like a lamb, not a human, like Isaac. Abraham got up very early the next morning and packed for the trip. He took a donkey, firewood, fire, a knife, and his son Isaac, and 2 servants from his house. After traveling for 3 days, Abraham saw the mountain still very far away. He left the donkey and the 2 servants. He said, "We'll be back after we worship God on the mountain. Stay here." Abraham put the firewood on Isaac's back. Abraham carried the fire and the knife on the sacrifice. Isaac noticed that they had everything for a burnt offering except the lamb. "Father," he said, "where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" "God will provide the lamb, my son," Abraham said. Now comes the scary part. On the mountain, Abraham piled up the wood for the big fire. He tied up Isaac and put him on the pile. Just as he picked up the knife, a messenger from God called from heaven, "Abraham, stop! Don't touch Isaac. Now I know that you trust God. You were willing to do the hardest thing, hurt your son, when God told you to." Nearby, Abraham saw a ram stuck in a bush. He offered it as a burnt offering instead of Isaac. God's messenger called to Abraham. God says, "Because you have done such a hard thing and were prepared to offer your son to me, I will make you this promise. Your family will be as many as the stars in the sky and the sand on the beach, and they will be safe for a long, long time. Everyone in the world will be blessed because of your family." What a great blessing. Abraham and Isaac went back to the servants. They all went home together. So here are the 3 questions. What's the scariest story you've ever heard? How did it make you feel? Did it make you wonder about God? What did you wonder? Have you ever seen something you needed in an unexpected place, like the ram in this story? What was it? And the last question, what sorts of things do you think God asks you to do? I hope that you see and watch for God this week.